Welcome to the Lifestyle Architects Show,
featuring interviews with inspiring and successful lifestyle entrepreneurs and helping you to design your life, build your online business, and live your dream now.
There is no better time than the present to make a change that will bring you true happiness and make your dreams a reality.
Changing his life and helping you change yours.
It's your host, Navid Muasses.
Hey, what's up everybody? As always, I'm your host, Navid Muasses, and welcome to another episode of the Lifestyle Architects. Today, I'm extremely excited to be joined by Tyler Wagner. He's a best-selling author of Conference Crushing, and now he speaks and consults with students, businesses, and entrepreneurs across the country, teaching them the lessons he learned on crushing conferences, expanding networks, and nurturing relationships. Together with his business partners, he's also launching an online training called the Best-Selling Book System to help first-time authors go from not having a book idea to becoming a bestseller on Amazon in less than 3 months. So that's a little intro, Tyler. Welcome to the show.
Yes. Thank you, Navid. And actually, that was a really good intro, so I got nothing else for you.
It's quite funny. We tried to do this last week, actually, but it was some disturbance there. So we are doing this interview again now. And we have something really great for you. We're going to cover a little bit about your story, but also for the audience listening here, we are going to get into how you can go from no book idea to bestseller on Amazon in less than 3 months with only 1 hour a day, even if you're an awful writer. So everything we talk about today, you can find over at navid.me/35. And I will also have a pretty good guide for you there so you can download if you sign up. So first of all, let's get into your story a little bit and how you got into this writing Conference Crushing.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess my entrepreneurial journey, it all starts out while I was in school, started a painting business, and just, I was able to give 10 or 12 of my friends jobs. And that's when I was like, wow, this is an amazing feeling being able to create jobs for other people, especially when it's your friends. And obviously I'm going to go through this pretty fast so we can, get to the good stuff. But basically ended up dropping out of school, realized that entrepreneurship was way more of my passion, and then I started going to conferences because the reason I dropped out was I realized I was not really growing much from the classes in school, but I was growing a lot from the relationships that I was building with people. So I kept going to conferences, and a lot of my friends kept saying hey man, you seem to kind of go about these conferences a little bit differently than most. When you leave this, you leave knowing everybody. You have all these new relationships, and most people kind of leave a little bit not sure what to do next. I put together the book Conference Crushing, wrote it in about, I'd say it was about a month and a half around there, and then launched it, became a bestseller. And then, from there, as you mentioned before, me and my two partners have decided to create a system that teaches you how to create your book, market it, and then leverage it as a platform for whatever you may want to do for the world.
Definitely. But you had kind of a mentor first. You mentioned last time, I think, that was you went to a conference called Mastermind Talks, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I went to a conference called Mastermind Talks, and the founder of that is Jason Gaynard. So my journey, I did skip over that part, but basically, I interned under him for 3 months, and I got to see kind of behind the scenes of how you put on a conference, all of the work that actually goes into it, and making this space that is really good for connections and relationships. So he's obviously, maybe I'm a little biased, but I would say he's one of the best in the business of conferences. Everybody leaves his event. It was actually just recently, he just put on the second one, Mastermind Talks. Everyone leaves the event just loving it, and he's such a genuine guy. And everything. So I learned a lot from him on how to create a good environment, but then also just in general, every day-to-day life, how you go about building these relationships and adding value to people. So having him as a mentor, obviously he's I mentioned him in my book. He's definitely a big part of my growth.
Definitely. I'm going to try to get him on the show as well. But before we get into the good stuff with the book publishing here, let's give the audience maybe 3 networking rules to live by or something like that, so they get a little bit from the book as well.
Definitely. So this actually works out perfectly because I was just talking to one of my coaching clients about this, and I'd say my 3 biggest tips, and I'll go down the line from before, during, and after. So before the conference, a big tip is, you want to kind of do a little bit of research on the attendees and speakers or influencers that are going to be there. So a quick way to do this is to just hop on Twitter and basically see what's going on in their life right now. So sure, you can like dig deep. It depends on how much time you have. But that is a quick and easy way. And I would start a week out from the event, see what's going on right now in their life on their Twitter feed, and then just stay in touch with it, engage with it all the way up till the day before or like that day of the conference. And then like what you can bring up to these people. So I would say that's one big tip for before the conference, and just kind of taking notes on that and seeing how you can provide value to the people. And then one main tip for during the conference would be people ask me a lot of time like how to get in with influencers or like how to talk to speakers. And I think really I personally don't actually like that question because it's like you're trying to get something and really it should be about how can you give. So another question that I do like is like people ask me basically, I don't have value to give to these speakers or these influencers. Like how are you able to become friends with some of them, or like, what can I do to help them really? And what I found is it's just actually treating them like a normal person, just talking to them normally. So it sounds like really simple, but a lot of us see some of these speakers and they're like celebrities in our view because they've helped us so much, and it's like show them appreciation for that. But also when you see them in person, just treat them like a normal person. Talk to them just like you would anybody else, and they will appreciate that so much, and that is valuable to them. So, change your kind of mindset on what's valuable, because like there are things that are valuable that are not monetary per se, or like ideas or something. So that's one big thing. And also influencers, they love to talk about early struggles. So if you're having trouble like figuring out like where to go with the conversation, and I'm sure you're the same way, Navid. Like, we like to kind of talk about like what steps did you take, what failures happened on your way to becoming a successful podcaster, or whatever it may be, just talking about our journey. So that's one topic to definitely bring up. And then for after the conference, obviously following up. So one big thing I always say is like if you don't follow up after an event, it's almost as if you were never there. So you definitely want to stay engaged with these people and maintain these relationships. So the first way to touch base with everybody after the event, one technique that I always do is I take really good notes at the event, then I type them up the day after, and there's usually a Facebook group for all these events, and then I just post all of the notes in that Facebook group. And I also at the bottom of the notes I will say, like, from the people I met, maybe you two should connect for these reasons. And that's like my first like touch base with everybody, and everybody's just like, oh, like, thanks man, like I missed this on this speaker or whatever, like these are really good notes. And that's your first way to basically stay engaged, and then a couple weeks after that follow up with maybe a helpful article or something. But I'd say those are my top three that I always use.
Definitely, there's some great tips there. And also I would like to congratulate you for actually being featured in Inc. magazine recently, and that was big for you. I mean, I think you are just 22, you just turned 22, or
yeah 22,
and you're a best-selling author. So let's get into a little bit there, because you actually dropped out of college and then you became a best-selling author after you had some other ventures as well, and then you wrote Conference Crushing, and now you have this program you are actually teaching other first-time authors. So you have kind of a 6-step system you discovered as well, how you can go from kind of no book idea to best on Amazon in less than 3 months. And you have this kind of, you say that it can only take 1 hour a day, even if you're an awful writer, obviously. So let's get into this a little bit and kind of what steps people should take.
Yeah, definitely. So as we go through this, just because I don't want to miss some stuff, I do actually have like the 6 steps like a little bit more detailed over here. So if I look away, that's why. But obviously most of them, it's like the back of my hand. But I do like to stay on track, because what we have found in these hangouts, it's kind of funny. Like, and I'm sure you whatever you're an expert on, it so well. So you kind of sometimes you go too deep, and it's like you just got to stay on track. So
for sure.
First phase that we have basically is like just finding your idea and getting clear on like your why. So a lot of people, what we find is most people, they have an inspiration or a motivation to like write a book, but they're not really clear. They don't sit down and like figure out like, why am I writing this book? Like, is it for money? Is it to get your message out there? Is it to kind of launch a coaching or speaking platform? There's many reasons. So like sitting down and figuring out this why before you begin is very important, because then it gears the way that you write the book, and it gears, what audience you're trying to hit, right? So that's kind of like our first one. So we have like four. So in our list of things, it's like money or lead generation is a reason. Growing your network. That's kind of like why I wrote Conference Crushing. It was to grow my network and also like help people maximize their ROI at conferences. And then like build reputation too, right? Like one way to view a book is like a glorified business card in a sense. And then kind of like a passion project. So one of my partners in this best-selling book system, he put out a book called Breaking Out of a Broken System, and all of the royalties from the book went towards a charity. So that was like a passion project for him. So yeah, first phase is just getting clear on your why. That's really important. Um, and then phase two that we have is like how to position your book to reach your target market. So this kind of starts to get a little bit into the marketing, and what a lot of people don't realize is that the marketing starts actually like before you start writing the book, or at least definitely like while you're writing the book, because of the way that Amazon works. So you kind of want to have a clear mindset on what categories that you'd like to be in Amazon, and also you want to cross categorize. So having this in mind, and to explain cross categorization. Basically, there's like all these main categories in Amazon, but then there's subcategories. So, for instance, my book, Conference Crushing, it's in a business and investing category as well as a self-help category. And what 99% of authors don't do, and this is what we keep finding, and it literally cuts their reach in half, is they'll put their book in two subcategories, because you're only allowed to pick two when you put your book on KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. Is that cuts the reach in half. They put their book in two categories under business and investing. So you want to split that up. And this is marketing that starts in the beginning, right? And then it's all about as well like organic discovery. So Amazon has keywords, SEO, and stuff like that. So what I recently did is basically I launched a sample of Conference Crushing. It's called How to Network at Networking Events. And now when you go to Amazon Kindle store and you type in how to network, just that long tail keyword, I think I'm number 4.
Yeah.
That comes up, and these are great keywords to be up there on, right? So
Yeah, one other thing I wanted to cover here is that how many books should be in a category for you? I mean, what category should you be targeting? Let's say you are going into, maybe in my case, I would go into personal branding. So what should I look at? What metrics?
yeah, definitely. Okay, so personal branding, you would want to kind of look through all of the categories in Amazon and see which ones yours fits with best. And then from that list, so kind of create a list, you'll see that like your book for personal branding and business and investing and self-help, probably that seems to be for business books, the two top categories that you go into. There's probably many subcategories that both of these could fit into, probably over 20, because there's a ton of categories in Amazon. So then you take that list and see the competition level in them. And the way you see the competition level is basically, once you click on a book's page, you can see what they're rated in the Amazon store. So if they're under 2,000, basically saying 2,000 or less in the Kindle store, that means they're selling a lot of books every day. So if the top 3 books in that category are under 2,000, that's a very competitive category, and your chances of becoming a bestseller are less likely because of just the competitiveness of it. But if you pick a category where the top 3 books are higher than 2,000 or like even 5,000 or higher, then like, if it's 5,000 or higher, I think there's this website, it's called kdpcalculator.com, and you can actually put in that number that they're in the Kindle store, and then it shows you how many they're actually selling per day on average. So that's, I think 5,000 or above is only around 10 to 20 a day. So you launch your book in a category where the top one's 5,000 in the Kindle store, you get, say, 100 downloads in that day, you're going to hit number 1.
Interesting, yeah. And
So
yeah, and like the keywords as well goes into this, I guess, that you need to, I mean, you mentioned with your book, you had Conference Crushing, then you wrote kind of a sample, How to Network, and I actually searched for this on Amazon. It's ranking extremely high for How to Network, number 3 or 4. And so how did you think about this? You did keyword research, did you use the Google Keyword Planner, or did you have another tool for that?
yeah, so we use Google Keyword Planner basically to try to, basically you can kind of gauge it, right? So it's like Google Keyword Planner you can't say Google and Amazon are the same, but they're probably the two of the most high used search engines. So basically, you can go on Google Keyword Tool, I search in like how to network, and that I believe popped up with like 120,000 or something a month searches, something like that. So then I go over to Amazon, and there's this cool tool called FreshKey, and that kind of shows you trending of what's going on. It doesn't show you the actual people. So pretty valuable tool, but you definitely need to back it up with some Google keyword research to see the actual numbers behind it. Um, so yeah, you use those both, and then you can kind of get a gauge of like how that keyword's doing, and then you want to get that in your title or subtitle. And that's why too, actually in my subtitle of Conference Crushing, which I have it right here, so I can just read off, but it's like 17 undeniable rules of how to network, build relationships, and crush it at networking events, even if you don't know anyone. So this is like just a little tip, or just to like show you how in depth this keyword stuff can go. If you're familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk, he wrote a book called Crush It.
Yep.
So in my subtitle, I have Crush It in there. So actually, if you type in Crush It in the SEO of Amazon, my book will actually be on the first page.
Wow.
From that. So, and it all depends. Like, you don't have to be that intense about it, but it helps, right?
Definitely. Let's move on here. So you actually now you're thinking of the categories here. You have to kind of think about the marketing in advance a little bit. But what's the next step you need to take? Maybe that's when you need to write the book and the writing process and all this kind of stuff that goes into it.
Definitely. So yeah, I mean, you're right on target then. So the third phase is what to do when you first start writing, basically. So what we did a lot of research on this, and we've actually put out 3-4 books if you count kind of like the sample of Conference Crushing, and there's a ton of strategies that we found for how to write books. But for us, what we have found that works best, we've all used it, is this 1 hour a day thing that we've kind of that you mentioned in the beginning of this. So first thing is you got to have like community or like accountability partner when you're writing this. Like a lot of people, they sit down, they're like, I'm going to write this book. And they just sit down at a table and they're like, I'm going to write a 300-page book. And it's like, well, that's where most people, like, it just never happens, because they think first off that their first book has to be like their book. Like that's the book. And it's, like Conference Crushing, like although it is like very good, and I did put a lot of time and effort into it, it's 64 pages. Like I definitely have more books that I want to put out. Some may be longer or shorter, but don't have that limiting belief that your first book has to be perfect. Like that is just not going to happen. Like your first book is not going to be perfect. None of your books will actually be perfect, right? So you just have to be okay with that and just take feedback from people, and then you can always update your book on Amazon too. So say if there is a mistake in there that somebody finds and they call you out on it, just say, hey, thanks, I'm going to update it on Amazon now. And that's it. So just get rid of that limiting belief, be okay with making mistakes and taking action and like learning from it. So that's first thing. And then like sorry to like go around, but like to actually get down to the writing strategies, what we would do is take note cards. We write on the front of the note cards, kind of like we use 12, I believe. And that's how it started with Conference Crushing. And obviously now it's 17 rules. So you end up like going in a completely different direction, but this is a great place to start. So you start out with note cards, write 10 topics that you kind of want to cover in your book, or 10 to 12. 10 to 12 topics. Then on the back, write 3 kind of subtitles for each of those topics. And then for each of the subtitles, write 250 to 750 words on them. And also, like while you're doing that, all of this does not have to come from scratch. Like for Conference Crushing, I read the book Never Eat Alone. I've read some other networking books, and I read some top-rated blogs on the topic of building relationships and networking. And then basically I took what I believe to be the best information that has actually helped me personally. And obviously I give them credit in the book. Like you give people credit when credit is due. And then I put my own life story with examples in my book. So like, I think a lot of people just think that it has to come all from them, but it's like all the information is out there, but the way that it's different is the way that you touch your audience and the way that you get through. So my book is like kind of the first book on networking that, and this is not to like say anything bad about any other book, but it's short, no fluff whatsoever. It is just very, very direct to the point. And it's like, here's the 17 rules, here's examples, and here's action steps. So it's kind of the first of its kind in that sense for networking. So yeah, I would say that's the writing strategies.
Definitely. I mean, what you mentioned here with doing research, it also gives your book more credibility. I mean, obviously, when I'm writing my book, I'm going out there interviewing people as well and gathering information so I can put this together, get more examples as well, case studies, so on. And I mean, as you said as well, you
Yep.
might even upgrade the book down the road, maybe have more examples and make it longer. So one other thing here, what do you think like about the length of the book? Does that depend on the subject, or what would you say there?
I think it depends on the subject, and I think it also depends again on like the first phase of like defining like your why.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like for me, my why was to just kind of like my I've found so far that my passion is in like helping people, coaching and public speaking. Like those three things kind of tie in together pretty well, and that's what I love to do. And I've realized too that like I want to have like, you know, a book out there later on that is like 200 pages, and that would be like kind of like my work of art or something.
Mm-hmm.
But conference crushing was just like, I know this stuff's valuable. I know I'm going to continue to grow because I go to these conferences all the time, and I know the information will get better. So I put this out there, and it's really been helping people a lot. And I'm going to update it later at some point. Honestly, when I just have the time,
Yeah.
I don't have the bandwidth right now, but it could become like a 120-page book down the road. But I wanted to get this out there as soon as possible because it's already helped thousands of people, you know, help like at networking events. So length, it all depends on like your why. Mine was get this valuable information out there, make it very concrete, no fluff, and that just happened to be 64 pages. So, and it does depend, like maybe personal branding, like you're talking about, maybe that's kind of there's more information on that topic.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a 120-page book or longer.
Definitely. I mean, it all depends. And also, before we move on here, let's, if we have some doubters listening, maybe they are thinking, why should I write a book? There's a lot of time, books never make money, and all this kind of stuff. I mean, what would you say to them? Like, for you, I guess it was more of a, like, also a positioning strategy as well. So now you're getting clients from it. You're making more money from your personal brand as well, even though you never had a website with your own name when you started. So
Definitely.
that's very interesting. So I would like to hear your kind of point of view in this sense.
Definitely, and I think we actually talked about this before, so I hope you'll help me with some personal branding later on
Definitely.
because I do not have a website with my name on it still. So basically, yeah, I guess to answer the question, there's like a lot of different things like you know, LinkedIn. I guess for me, that's just an easy way to start off. Like once you can put best-selling author or even just author next to your name, then it like you become an expert in that field, and it is true. And once you like teach something, you actually become way more knowledgeable on the topic. So like, you know, personal branding really well. Once you write the book and start teaching people about it, you'll probably know it even better. And that's what's happened to me with like networking and relationship building is I was doing it kind of unconsciously, like was not aware of everything I was doing. And then once I wrote the book and defined all my 17 rules, if you will, then I was like, whoa, like I actually am now seeing what I'm doing, and now I'm able to actually like do it a lot better and a lot more often. So okay, so to address those limiting beliefs, like first off, I'd say so there's self-publishing now, which
Yep.
people still don't really know about. Some people, it's not. It's very easy to be honest. Like going through anything the first time is, you know, you're gonna have bumps in the road, difficult. Like I'm sure starting your podcast at times, like you had to figure some stuff out.
Yeah.
But once you do something once, twice, three times, then it becomes second nature, just like riding a bike. So we went through the self-publishing process for Kindle, hard copy, as well as audiobooks. And all three of them were different processes, different platforms, and they did take a little time. But now that we've gone through them all, like it's just not it's not that hard. So we can teach it. So I would say no matter where you're at in your business, whether you want to write a book to get your message out there, or whether you're a public speaker, you want to get more gigs, whatever it may be, becoming an author and like writing your book is worth the time. And it's not as much of a struggle as you think. And yeah, I guess, and let me know if I'm not addressing all the questions,
Yeah,
but it's just
I
like,
think so. Yeah, because
to me, it's
it,
just so important to have a book if you want to grow your business. Like, it's extremely important.
definitely. I mean, one thing here as well that's important, like you might not have the biggest platform yet, but there's self-publishing like available to anyone, and you can become the kind of recognized expert in your field if you put out a book. I mean, it might not be the best book you will ever put out there, but it's the first
Mm.
work you put out there. You might get more clients, and don't need to be, I mean, the foremost expert. If you compare it to other people, you might not be there yet, but you will position yourself in the marketplace, and that will just bring you more business. If I would have done it differently, I would have published a book right from start and at least tried, maybe interviewed other people, and then combine that or compile it into a book and then put it out there. That would have like really branded myself faster by association. And
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's also, and that was a point in the writing process too that I did, you brought up, but I forgot to. It's like the blogs, the books, and also like talking to experts in that field. Right. So, I mean, like I said, like I mentioned Jason from Mastermind Talks in here. He is like the most genuine guy ever and is like the best at just like building relationships, adding value to people and everything. So, I was able to take some knowledge from him and also apply that to this book, right? So that's a whole nother thing. And then you can take those interviews and make it into a podcast if you'd like as well. So there's a ton you
definitely.
can do with it.
Definitely. So if you go back here a little bit to kind of the step-by-step system, so you have actually also step-by-step instruction for kind of listing your book. Maybe you're writing it, and now it comes down to actually getting your book on Amazon. So what should you do there? What kind of should you think about? I mean, that can be overwhelming
Yeah.
for someone doing it the first time.
Definitely. So, and this also, like, this is why we go over, like, what's your why first, because it all leads back to that root. But just to, like, stay in order and like, just, it will hit that and through this. But phase number 4 that we have is, like, editing and getting your book Kindle ready,
Yeah.
right? So, like, kind of the steps, there are a couple before you put it on Kindle, right? So, to go through those real quick is, like, you would want to you have your rough draft completed, then you get it edited. To find an editor, many ways, referral, like ask other people. Maybe you have some friends that do, they write for some magazines possibly, or they are authors. Ask them for referral, or go on these websites like Elance, Odesk, other freelance websites. Find a good editor, get it edited. Then you would want to get a cover image, and also you need to get it formatted. Cover image is so important. We like, and we say this in our webinars for Best Selling Book System, but like they're like the covers of our books are really good, right? And you need that. And people say don't judge a book by its cover, but everybody judges a book by its cover. It's just the way it is. Like there's one book we saw on Amazon. It has literally, it's like clip art with a money sign on the front and like rocket ships. And I don't know. And it's just like that could be the best book ever. But
Yeah.
like just by looking at the cover, you're just like, oh man, like that, I just can't read that. Like you know. So you want to have a good cover. So once you have that, then you get it formatted to a Kindle, basically a Kindle format. It's called a .mobi file, so a Mobi file. And then you would start to upload it on Kindle. So how you do that is you sign up for a KDP account, Kindle Direct Publishing. And then the next step would be basically KDP will walk you through this, but there's actually a ton of steps, so I'm trying to kind of remember them all. They are listed within KDP,
Yeah.
and obviously in our program we just walk you through that like personally. But you do that, like upload your title, upload the book, upload the cover image, then you get to pick 7 keywords that you would like your book to rank for as well. So you put that in there, you put your subtitle in there. You pick the price of your book, which you actually have to pick the price because you're actually offering your book most likely in a bunch of other different countries because Amazon's global. So you have to pick the price in other countries. Then you have to decide if you want to do a Kindle Matchbook, which if you had a hard copy, then it's basically like a deal that Kindle offers. And then yeah, like you do a free promotion, which that's getting into the marketing. But those are kind of the steps to get your book on Kindle. So as you can tell, like I said them pretty fast, but like once you have it converted to a Mobi file, it is literally as simple as just uploading it onto Kindle Direct Publishing, and then
Definitely.
yeah.
And definitely one thing here is as well with the finding an editor. So what should you think about there? Like, okay, you're going out there finding maybe one on Elance, Odesk, or whatever. So how can you spot a good one? So it can be quite expensive depending on how long your book is, obviously.
Definitely. So, I mean, luckily on all these like freelance websites, like they have ratings and stuff, and you can also like see they usually do sample work. And I would say one big thing, like this was a big limiting belief for me, um, excuse me, before when I was writing my first book and I wanted to get it converted or edited, right? And I was just like, I don't want to get, for lack of a better word, like screwed over. Like I don't want to get screwed over online. I don't know this person that maybe they're from the complete other side of the country. But with most of these platforms, it's like an escrow account. So you put your money in an escrow account, then they edit your book, you check it over, and then you decide like if it's good enough, if it's up to standard. And if it's not, then you tell them, hey, like I read through this, like I would like to work with you, but like you're gonna need to do a better job before I actually fund you the money. And then you kind of go back and forth, make sure both parties are happy. Then the money gets funded. So really, I mean, you can't lose in that situation, kind of. So if the first one doesn't work out, you simply just tell them like, hey, like I'm sorry, but this is just not up to my standard. Like I'd love to help you out, but I'm just not really happy with the product. And then maybe you would get a different one, right?
Definitely.
So yeah, that's what I'd say. Just like don't really be that worried about it. You like the way that it's set up, you can't get screwed over. So
Yeah, but so why in the first place do you actually need an editor? Maybe you're such a good writer, so you don't need one. I mean, you mentioned this in a previous call we had, I mean, your business part, they didn't have that when they put it out there first, but you
yeah,
did.
they did. Yeah, I did. So like we kind of say like in our program too, even if you're an awful writer. So I'm better now. I'm getting better. I think because like I journal all the time now. But like when I first started, I had like these 17 steps that I created, and they were like very valuable. But it was hard for me to communicate the information in like a nice flow and transition. So like I needed an editor, or my book like it looked and read like a third grade paper at first. So it was very important for me to get an editor. But then my two partners, they did end up getting it edited, and then they uploaded a revised version. But they were actually, their book was good enough to put out on Amazon, right away before getting an editor. So it does depend on how good of a writer you are, but it is definitely very valuable to just have another set of eyes looking at it, right?
Great. And how much can you look? I mean, how much are you looking to spend? I mean, roughly.
Okay. So yeah, it's kind of that's the thing. It's like it's all over the place because depending on where these people are from too. Like some people, like as maybe some people have heard, like to get virtual assistants from like the Philippines is like $3 an hour or something like
Of
that.
course.
So you
Yeah.
just want to be, and it all depends. So when my one buddy right now, I'm helping him to put a book out, and he put his book on Elance, and it's like 19,000 words. So some people judge by the words, and there's also like different types of editing, by the way, like content editing, line editing. So you got to be aware of that as well. But he put it up there, and he got quotes all the way from like $149, which I think is ridiculously cheap for 19,000 words. And then he got other quotes for like 2 grand.
Yeah.
So, and it's just like you got to check out the ratings, and it's all about like too like how serious are you about this. So maybe for your first book, if you're kind of bootstrapping it, I think 500 is pretty legit. And like you'll get pretty good editor. But then when you get down the road and it's like your big book that you want like your face on it or something, then maybe you hire that like $5,000 editor that is just like really big time.
Yeah, maybe in a
So
few years. Yeah, but another important aspect is probably that, I mean, I would probably hire someone from the United States or a native English speaker because they can obviously do a much better job with this. And at least I
definitely.
think that.
Yeah, and those obviously like the ones like of that language, they're like more expensive, right? So I think the 149 was probably, and this is I'm not sure, but maybe it was somebody from the Philippines or something. So you just gotta, yeah, and it's just what do you have? What some people don't have $3,000 to put towards this right away. So it's all about what you can do.
And sometimes you can be lucky in finding a really good deal, and maybe someone even in the United States. Sometimes you can actually find great ones. For example, I have a transcriber for my podcast. Sometimes I use him. It's quite cheap actually. It's like $23 per audio. I think per audio hour. So that's extremely cheap. Most people they charge
Yeah.
around 80 or 100. So that's really good actually.
Wow. Yeah, and I'd say because this just popped in my head because I actually got very lucky. I have a great editor for my book. She, like all my future ones, I'll probably use her again. And if you can find something of like value, so obviously if you find somebody on Elance, this is a little bit harder, but I found my editor in person when I was in Iowa, and basically she got tied in with my passion of this. Like she went to events as well, and she was just like, I really want to help you spread your message. So if you can actually like trade some value, and she wanted to learn from me as well. So, and also now like my book became a bestseller. So if you went to her website, you would see, now she's able to like use this as a nice platform to get more customers. So trading
Definitely.
value, it does not always have to be monetary.
Great tip, great tip. And here, another thing with the cover, before we move on, is that you have great covers for your book. But what should you think about when it comes to a cover? How should you compare that to other books, or what should you look at when you are going out there, maybe to 99 Designs or Fiverr, whatever you want to use to create your design for the cover?
So I would say there's a couple of things that go in it. And again, so I'd say like one part, we kind of like, we went on Elance and found this girl from Sweden, who's just amazing. Like she's such an amazing just designer in general. She designs websites, does all the covers for our books, and they're like very unique covers. And so yeah, that's like, kind of, fail a couple times. We had a couple people try out and we just didn't like the cover. Then we found this girl and we're like, okay, this is the girl we like. We're going to keep using her. But another way to kind of get ideas, because we kind of give her a couple ideas and then we just kind of let her run with it because her creativity is way beyond ours. So we just let her do her thing. But is to see what are the top books in your category, right? In the categories that you're going for. Check out their covers. And obviously you're not going to copy their cover. But what you would do is be like, okay, it seems like in this category, all three of the top books, their covers are like the people in suits, and it's their just face on the cover, maybe, or something. Maybe that's in like personal self-help. You know what I mean? Those ones would maybe be like that. But then maybe in like time management or like networking, like maybe the cover has to do and whatever. I'll just show my book, but it just has to do like showing like kind of people at a conference, right? So that's how we got the idea for that. Because there's a lot of networking books out there, business networking. It's like a circle of people. They're all linked together, and just like throwing that idea of building relationships out there. So I guess the biggest tip I could give is just like keep failing on these freelance websites. Find that one person that's really good. Stick with them. Second one is just check out the top three books in whatever categories you're going for. Check out their covers and then try to make your cover give off the same message.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it's important to find someone you can work with long term. I mean, I did that when I found my designer for my website, and doing my podcast artwork is the same strategy essentially. Like you can look in iTunes and see other podcasts and see how they stand out, because it's important there's so many podcasts, so your artwork actually, like, people click on it and they want to check out your podcast. So it's kind of the same thing as in Amazon. There's a lot of books, so you want to stand out. And let's move on here a little bit with I guess you have figured out what you should write about. You have given some step-by-step instruction how they can get their book listed. So I guess after that, it's all about kind of picking the categories inside Amazon so you can become the bestseller. Like you talked about this briefly as well before, but I think like really nailing that is super important. Otherwise, you will probably fail at becoming the number one.
Definitely at first, and just to say too, so it's like, say if you did like miss, like you picked the wrong categories, you're actually able to change your categories after you pick them on Amazon. So there's a lot of things that like people, and again, and not to like beat a dead horse on this, but they have so many limiting beliefs, and you are able to make so many edits in Amazon. Once your book is live, you can like re-edit it, you can revise it. Like if you think it's good, just put it out there, and then you'll get feedback from people. And like if there's some minor things that are wrong, then fix it, right? But just kind of being okay with that, just being okay with like, I went over it, I got an editor to go over it, I had friends check it out. Like this thing has been proofread 10 times, maybe even 100. It's time to publish this thing. Like just get it out there. And like, yeah, chances are maybe 100 people missed one thing. It's okay, then just fix it. So yeah, so that's what I would say for that. And then So sorry, could you kind of just like repeat your
I
question
mean,
on that?
basically, like how you get it to number one, in
Okay.
Amazon, like when you're actually putting your book out there, what goes into that? I think that's important, and also like with the title, you mentioned it a little bit how you went with the title, but maybe you can go in with to some strategies there as well.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, the two main big marketing things, and then we'll skip phase five because phase five has to do with publishing on Kindle as well,
Yeah.
and just like Author Central account, and that's kind of like I had said before, like diving pretty deep into it.
Yep.
So we can get to the marketing, but to go back to the two main things I said is picking the right categories and then picking the right keywords. So I have 7 keywords that I'm able to pick. So I did research on basically what I thought would be the best keywords, and also you can change these keywords as well. So I actually tried 7, then I tweaked it, tried them, tweaked it, and kept tweaking, and then I found like my 7 that I think work best. So like how to network is a really good one. Networking is a good one. Networking for beginners is a good long tail keyword, and then whatever like building relationships, and like some other ones as well, but just like trial and error, right? So you do trial and error, and then you do the research before on like these categories, and you want to like stay in contact with them while you're writing your book, right? So if you pick categories at the beginning and then you go through the 3-month program that we have or something, and then at the end you realize like, whoa, there's been a ton of books that have been launched in this category. This category is now very competitive, whereas 3 months ago it was not as competitive, which is definitely a possibility. Like self-publishing is real, and there's a lot of books being published all the time. So like that is the first part. Like you need to be in the right categories to make sure that you hit number one. Once you build this influence, and once you become, I don't know, once you have a bigger following, then like that competitiveness obviously is like it's easier for you. Just like with anything, like the better you get at something, like it's easier for you to win at it or something.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I would say that is it, I guess just because, like I said before, like I go into it so much. Is there any other thing that you feel like I might be missing on the keyword and category stuff? Because I
Yeah,
want to make sure I cover that.
definitely, definitely. I think with as far as with the competitiveness, I think also like how I mean, what's a competitive category on Amazon? Let's say one you should maybe avoid to go into in the first place.
Okay, so yeah, I can use an example from my book, like motivation.
Mm.
That's a pretty competitive category. So I was in that, and I was actually able to get top 3 for a little bit, but then my book was like going down. There's just a lot of, I can't think of the titles of these books now, but there's a lot of big, like heavy hitter books in this category. So I just was not getting to the top. And then what I did is I'm in stress management. And then I'm also in multi-level marketing because I realized too that a lot of people that do network marketing or multi-level marketing, they go to a lot of events. So my book was like resonating with them on like networking. So it was a lot easier. That's a less competitive category, multi-level marketing, for me to get to the top and stay in that organic search. So that's kind of like a real life example right there.
Yeah, and also with your business partners, and as far as the title goes, they had the productive person. I think that's also interesting to bring up because they are actually bringing a lot of organic traffic just from the title of their book.
Definitely. And that's yeah, so that's where like that would be the main difference with productive person and conference crushing is like your title is the most heavily weighted part of the SEO. Your subtitle is the second, and then description, and then the actual words in the book are actually weighted too, and that's kind of the order it goes in. So the productive person organically, like, and I'm not sure where it comes up now, but if you type in productivity or productive or something into the Kindle store, like their book is like number 2, I think, or something.
Yeah, it's very high up together
It's
with getting things done. It's like
yeah,
big hitters, really.
exactly. So it's very high up, and like literally that is the reason, because I realized that conference crushing was helping so many people, but organically it was not being found that much. It was just being found in the categories because it was high up. So that's why I created the sample, how to network at networking events. And now for networking and how to network, very big keywords, I rank, and then they kind of connect together, right? So yeah, that's very important. That's a great example just to show the difference of like just the title of them having productive in their title and me not having like how to network in my title for organic reasons. theirs came up way more often.
Can you give some tips maybe for coming up with a good title or maybe headlines, So, I mean, that goes a lot into copywriting as well, which I know you're studying. I study myself as well. But maybe some
Yeah.
tips there to come up with a really good title so you can get more people to actually check out your book and buy it.
Yeah, definitely. So, and again, I guess it just keeps going back, like in a sense, to like trial and error. So you've actually two ways kind of have a title, and this is the main difference too. So the productive person, I actually like that title, but it also is keyworded. Conference crushing was just kind of like a title that me and a couple buddies were eating lunch at Panera Bread, and we just kind of were like, conference crushing. This sounds cool. Let's just put it. And hopefully, with those titles, you would hope that maybe they catch on. So like now, like I'm not saying conference crushing is like caught on that big yet, but like people sometimes when they go to conferences and they know me, they'll be like, dude, I just crushed that conference. So like you have a title that's kind of catchy and it's starting to catch on and people are talking about it. So kind of two different mindsets on title. But the way that it just goes back to is you do your keyword research, have your keywords, and then you see how you can put your keyword into the title and into the subtitle. And I think a main rule is it's kind of like not to be like a sellout in a sense. So it's like my subtitle actually sounds good and it also has a lot of keywords. Whereas like if I were to just name my book like just how to network, that's it. Like, it's kind of a lame title. You know what I mean? Just like how to network, like that's it. Like in my opinion. So you want to make sure you're like give your book some like personality too. Like don't make it's not all about the keywords. Just put keywords in when you can.
Yeah, and you write for people as well, and it's about. I mean, it's got to stand out a little bit. How to network. Network might not sound as the really sexy word. People don't like it too much. So conference crushing actually sounds a lot better, and it's also pretty good branding, I would say. For your book. Like people when someone say conference crushing, they associate this book with you. And network, that's a little broad as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's just multiple ways, and it's all about if you can get both of them, like conference crushing plus a subtitle with keywords. I think that's the most ideal solution.
Definitely. So if we move on here a little bit, I know for kind of writing the introduction, maybe on Amazon, so actually people they want to buy and read your book. Do you have kind of a, step-by-step method for this as well?
Yeah, definitely. So actually, and I'm sorry, I apologize. Believe we do actually have an 8-step method. It's somewhere in here.
Something that is really important as well when it comes into.
I agree. Oh, here it is. Okay,
Sure.
so you want to, and this has to do with the description and the kind of introduction as well. So we kind of tie those together, and it's just like you said, we both study copywriting, and it's all about like. I would associate that with your book is like your cover image is kind of like a headline. Your cover image gets people to open the book, and then your introduction gets them to read the first chapter, and then the first chapter gets them to go all the way to the end, in a sense, right? And just keep building off that. So your description and introduction are like similar in a sense. You want them to be very like catchy, and you want to have a headline. You want to like go all the way. So we have an 8-part thing for your sales letter. And it ties in with your introduction as well. So first, it's like identifying the problem. So like in my book, like I identify the problem, like why am I writing this? And it's just the fact that I realized I was going to all these events and I was realizing I was coming away from them tons of new relationships, tons of new knowledge. Not many people were. So there's the problem that I want to like fix. And then what you do is provide the solution, which is basically like, this is what I actually do briefly. Obviously, you're not going into everything, but it's just like, here's the solution to that. Like, this is what I do. This is how it works. Then the third one is like reassert your credibility. So it's kind of like, then you give some real life examples in there. In a sense, this is the third step. So like for me, I mentioned like mastermind talks just to like show that like, hey, like I'm not just talking about this, I actually do this. And this is like a real life example. And then show them kind of the benefits again. So sometimes people confuse this with number 2 and they think it's the same thing. But really number 2 is providing the exact solution. And then number 4, show them the benefits again, is actually saying like, hey, if you do this solution, here's the benefits you're going to get from it. So that's number 4. 5, give them like kind of show that proof again. So give them more proof. And some of these are like similar things, right? But you want to like keep tacking away at them because so you get them to go there. then you make a promise, kind of bigger the better. So like a promise, and I'm not even sure my exact promise in here. You want it to be very real, and like whatever you believe to be true, make that your promise. Obviously, bigger the better, but you do like obviously don't like lie or anything. So my promise was just like, hey, like if you use these 17 rules, I guarantee that you will maximize your ROI at your next event. Like you will actually like your next event will be more successful for you. And that was my guarantee. So that's what I put. Warn against waiting in a sense. So it's like for me, kind of easy in a sense that's like you can keep spending $3 to $5 a piece on all these conferences without my book and keep not getting a good ROI, or you can spend $3.99 on my book, read it, use it for these conferences, and then get your ROI. So like the longer you wait, the more money you're wasting in a sense. And then the eighth one is like prompt them to read. So it's like kind of like a call to action. So it's like, you know, like now, like read on or something like that. And obviously, that's like a terrible. That's not the words that I use. But like after you warn them against waiting, then it's like call to action. So it's like now it's time to like dig into the book and continue on. So that's kind of like our 8-step thing. That's in the show notes. I have no problem sending that over to you as well.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
So,
but yeah, one other thing here with the is that like kind of on Amazon, kind of the sale, you get to write a little bit introduction. Then in the book, like on Amazon, when they click it, they can also see a little sample of it, right? And you use this kind of to build your email list, I've noticed.
yes. Okay. So this is going to the marketing then as well. So a big thing that we do that like I don't 99% is actually small. Like nobody really does this. Like not many people is if you do the look inside feature of all 3 of our books, Conference Crushing, Productive Person, Breaking Out of a Broken System, you go in there. Within the 2nd to 3rd page, we have basically an image of our audiobook. So we had somebody on Elance do our audiobook that was, you know, really good. Again, trial and error, finding somebody good. And always to eliminate the limiting belief, most of the time with these people that do voiceovers, they'll give you sample work like already, so you can listen to 5-minute clips of all their work, and then you can be like, oh wow, okay, that sounds good, I think he would be good for my audiobook. Then you hire him, right? So so yeah, if you went to Conference Crushing on Amazon and then you went to my 3rd page, I think it's my cover table of contents, and the 3rd page says download the free action guide and audiobook, and then it's a link. You click that, go to my website, and it's an email opt-in. And we've seen numbers like it's pretty normal, around 60 to 7 conversion rates on that. But sometimes like when you do a launch, like a promotion, it's like over 100%.
Wow.
Because like some people, we didn't notice a decline in sales. Like, and if there was, it was very minor that like we didn't notice it, right? So 'cause most people are like, well, you know, you're giving away your book for free before people buy it. Like you're not making any money or whatever. Which first of all, an email is worth way more than like your book.
Yeah.
Which yeah, no, I know you know that, but like so you like get those emails. So on average, like I bring in like 15 to 20 emails a day. Productive Person's bringing in like 20 to 25. And this is all organic. Like this is not us marketing this at all. It's just there's so many eyes on Amazon. Our books are up in the rankings. They're in the right categories, so people check it out, and we just every day organically like average 20 emails a day.
Wow. I mean, this is a really important point you bring up here, because you are getting actually, I mean, around 15 to 20 per day, and you have not even launched your kind of personal branded site yet, maybe with your name. Let's say you do that, then you're gonna have maybe 1,000, 2,000 plus subscribers already, or even more now. You're doing a bunch of webinars. I mean, of course, you're going to get visitors to your website. So this is actually a fantastic way to kind of launch a business and grow your email list, it seems, at least from the way you do it, the right way, actually focusing on this, not focusing. I mean, obviously, you're making sales as well, but email subscribers worth way more down the road.
Definitely, and that's why we go into like using it as a platform, because then it leads into coaching and speaking, and then like, you know, info products, whatever, video courses, like it could be anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that is one of our biggest marketing techniques that like a lot of people, once we tell them, they're like, whoa, like I never thought about that. And it's really crucial.
Yeah, smart. And also you have actually a book website, and I think that's also important, I guess. So maybe you can get into that a little bit on how you use that. You have conferencecrushing.com, right? For the book. So how do you use that, and what do you recommend to maybe my listeners here today?
Definitely. So I definitely recommend. So like you said, like I don't have a personal brand website yet. Once I do actually have a website with my name, I plan on having like my book and all my like stuff that I'm doing underneath. Like it's like an umbrella, right? Like
Yep.
your brand. But for right now, you could still have these other websites, and this will help you build SEO and a bunch of stuff as well. So conferencecrushing.com, like throughout my book, I'm building a sales funnel, and obviously right now I'm very focused on best-selling book systems, so I've kind of put this on hold. But what I'll do then is with all those emails, obviously, like I'm going to keep adding value to everybody who's opted in, and I want to help them succeed at conferences. Like that's kind of like my passion for writing this book. And then what you can do with that is the website. Obviously, I have reviews from people on there. I have influencers on there, and it just, it's just another thing for branding for your book. It looks good, and then I can build it into a sales funnel, which like I'm going to do a video course as well for the book because some
Yeah.
people are visual, like they want to actually see and hear like a video course and make it more interactive. So they've read your book, listened to the audiobook, maybe they want to purchase a video course. So that would be a funnel. And then like I told you before, and I'm not sure we got into this in this call, but on LinkedIn I got reached out to, and I have 4 coaching clients now, and I coach them on how to maximize their ROI at conferences. So I would build that into the funnel as well. And then it's actually led to, I have one guy that I got my first client of wingmanning people at conferences, which is like, I had no plan of this at all, but I really think it's a really valuable thing. Like, it's hard to put a price on it, because if I go to this conference with this guy and really help him get tied in with the right people, he gets a good business deal from it. Like the ROI on that could be insane. So you never know where your book's going to go quite, but just like having that plan that you make in the first phase, running through it, taking action, and just like going along with things as it comes, then that's what I mean. Conference Crushing, a small Kindle, has led to coaching, speaking, and wingmanning people at conferences, which is like something completely new.
And being featured on Inc. magazine,
Yeah,
that's
that too.
that's pretty good, and you didn't expect that. But one other thing before we move on to kind of reaching the end here is that, like, what goes into your site? What should people think about when they are creating this website? Maybe they are going to have their book there. You mentioned you had some big names also, kind of giving your book a testimonial or shout out, and that also helps, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. So it's like, I would say for me going to conferences, like I would say that like my network has just grown dramatically. So for conferences, I'm writing a book about conferences. I go to a lot of them. So I'm tied in with influential people in that space. So I got them to basically give some testimonials on the book. And obviously they have a brand as well. So they would never do that unless they agreed with all the stuff I was saying in my book. Which is, once you start to build a brand, you have to be protective of it too, right?
Yeah.
So that's really important, and that actually goes back to your book page on Amazon. So you can put together like 3 to 4 editorial reviews that show on your book page. So you would want them to come from your influencers and also your ideal customers as well. And why you do that, it's just like credibility, right? It's just like, I wrote this book, it's helping tons of people. Here's 3 people that you may know in this space. They're influencers. They also support this book. And that obviously just
So you
it
can
helps.
put that kind of on the book page on Amazon. So that's what people see when they are browsing this one page on Amazon with your book. They see maybe, I know, for example, in your case, Dane Maxwell, he wrote the foreword, and that's big
Yeah,
credibility for you.
absolutely. Yeah, that was huge for me. He's one of my biggest mentors, and definitely he's very big in the entrepreneurial space. So having him write the foreword, definitely credibility booster without doubt.
And so what would you say? How can you actually maybe get other people, influencers, to, promote your book, or actually support what you're doing, so they maybe give you this one sentence you need to get this extra credibility?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say, and again, so it would go back to like phase 1 of your why. So for me, it was a little bit easier to get these people because, like, first off, like they're my friends. Second off, like I learned these conference and networking techniques from them. So it was like, you know what I mean? So I would say, to answer your question, say if you were writing your book just for money. Let's say that's
Yeah.
the case. You do research on Amazon, figure out what people are looking for, write a book primarily on that. It is not a passion project. It is just money. what you could do is, like you said before, like you're interviewing people on these experts in this field. You interview them, you get their input, you feature them in the book, which, I mean, who doesn't like to be featured in a book?
Yeah.
As long as it's like good, right? So then you basically would ask them, like, hey, like I did an interview on you. Here's the final copy. Send them a free PDF. Have this influencer with a brand check it over. If he likes it, maybe ask him, be like, hey, would you be interested in writing the forward? Or would you be interested in writing me a testimonial that I can post on my Amazon book page? And you've interviewed them, they like the book. Like, why would they not do that? So that's a way to do it if you're not already kind of in the space and friends with everybody, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've covered a lot, kind of how you can organically get found as well. But obviously, the email list is a big thing when you're launching your book. I mean, send out your email list and kind of building an interest list. I know you asked people before you actually wrote your book if they would be interested in this. So you started gathering email subscribers, and then when you published, you had your email list to send it to. Well, is that correct?
Yeah, so basically, like, tons of tips there with marketing, like you want to get people involved, right? So like when I had this idea for this book too, I put together a Google form survey and basically put that out to my network on Facebook and stuff like that, and also like some emails to friends and stuff like that, which is like, hey, can you guys basically, like, you guys go to events. This is what I'm doing. Like, what would you like to get out of a book that talks about networking? Like, where do you think that you could do better? What are some things that you find valuable and some other topics of networking relationships? Put together just like a 3 to 5 question survey, and then at the bottom have them put in their email, and basically at the bottom of the survey say, I am writing this book. Once it's free, put your email in here, and then I'll email you the free copy or something. So I did that, and I was engaging with people with my book. And another strategy too is like having 3 different covers. So we had our designer do 3 different covers. Then we put that on Facebook, have people vote on the covers. Again, engagement before. And then you can ask them too, PM them on Facebook and just be like, hey, like, saw that you like this cover, really appreciate your feedback. Would you be interested in having a free copy when it's available? They say yes. And I say, well, okay, can I have your email? So, and again, this is starting with your own network, starting with your friends, like, and that's okay. So then it wasn't many. It was probably like 200-300 emails at that time, maybe 150, to be honest. I'm not actually sure of the number, but not that high, but that was a good start. So once my book went free on Amazon, I immediately started with that list. I hit that list and was like, hey, it's only going to be free for these next couple of days. So I told you I'd email you when it's available. Thanks for all your help. Like, you were actually a part in creating it, which they were, because they gave me good feedback. Sent them the email, and then there you go. There's 150 like downloads right there.
Definitely. I mean, I have a few things before we end here I would like to cover. Pricing, we never got into pricing. Like, that's important. Like, when should you offer it for free, and kind of what price should you have? And then maybe how you market it on social media to drive more. That's a little bit you went into now, but maybe a little bit more how you get sales from there.
So those are two. I love talking about both of these things. So first thing is the pricing that you said. So pricing, I'd say with like my book it's at $3.99 right now for the Kindle book, and the hard copy is like $9.99. So again, pricing is like something you want to test out. Most of the time, Kindle books are $2.99 and $3.99 if they're business related. So that's kind of where we gauge it. Now, my one book, How to Network at Networking Events, is only 99 cents. That's also like 25 pages. So you want to go by length, value, and basically like just, I think those two things are pretty important. And also see what are the books that you're next to in your category, what are they going for too, right? So with Conference Crushing, I think it's 64 pages. $3.99 is pretty. I think that's the best price that I found from trying new ones. I thought at first, because 64 pages, not that long, I was like $2.99 I think is a good price. So I did that, but then I actually, and this is a whole nother thing, but I was able to get 65-star reviews within the first 3 weeks of launching it. We have a technique for that as well, and now it's at like 108 reviews, and it's 4.9 stars rated. So it's like very highly rated book. So I upped it to $3.99, and by that perceived value jump, I think $3.99 with a 108 4.9 star review book went together better than $2.99 did. So I actually noticed about 5 more sales a day on average, and once I changed my book to be $1 more.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like again, it's just like trial and error, just like with anything. So 2.99 it was doing well, it's doing better with 3.99. So hey, I'm happy with that.
Definitely. And
Right?
also you got a lot of 5-star reviews. So a few things on that, and then we move into kind of how you market it on social media.
Perfect. So with the reviews, and I'm not saying I recommend this, but it does work. So again, it's starting with your friends. So you gave this book to your friends for free, and obviously you want your reviews to be legit. It's all about being transparent too. Like just this is again with branding. Like you want to give value to the world, and you want to have legitimate reviews. So once I gave my book for free, I simply asked them like, "Hey, so I gave you this book for free. After you read it, could you leave me an honest review on Amazon?" So like my first maybe 30 reviews may have been from people I knew, but they were still real reviews. Like they read my book and they liked it. So if they didn't like it, I told them, give an honest one. I didn't say, give me a 5-star review. Just tell me, I want to know for real because I actually want to make it better if you don't like it. So that's where I started. And then from there, once your book gets some reviews on Amazon, then like the people that might be skeptical that you don't know, they see your book and they're like, okay, like this is actually a legit book. Then that helps with organic traffic too. But how I did that, the strategy that I used, and this is like me, I'm pretty hard worker in a sense. So I actually stayed up all night, and we talk about this in our webinars with Best Selling Book System, and everybody kind of laughs because I stayed up all night and literally did 300 personal, like 30-second videos to everybody. And this was, so I had 150, 200 maybe on that list, but then I also had 100 other friends that like I just sent it to, that maybe didn't help engage with it at first, but there's still people I felt I could reach out to. So it was around like 300, and just did 30-second personal videos like, thanks so much for your help. Or if it wasn't somebody that helped me along the way, I think this might help you. Would you mind after you read it? It's literally like an hour and a half read for the book, maybe an hour, some people say. Would you mind leaving a review? And I made it personalized. And then and then I sent it out to them on a Facebook PM. And then literally within 3 weeks, I got 60 reviews. So 60 out of 300. I mean, it's not bad. It's
Yeah,
okay.
fantastic tip, because that's kind of exactly the same strategy I used for getting reviews for my podcast early on. I mean, within maybe now I have over 100 reviews, and it's just been live for a few weeks, and
Yeah,
that's what I did. Reach out to my network, and then obviously as it get bigger and get found in iTunes, more people that enjoy this show, they will also hopefully leave a 5-star rating and review. So that's a little hint
definitely.
there
And
what you can do as well.
right, and isn't it and just to like just for 1 second talk about that, like wasn't it kind of cool? I remember when I realized that my book now was starting to get reviews from people I didn't know. And I was like, "Whoa, like this is cool." Like now it's starting like it's okay to start with your network and then it builds and it grows into like organic traffic. So that was really
Yeah.
cool once I noticed my first review from somebody I didn't know and I was like, "All right,
Yeah.
now this is working. Like this is
This
cool."
is really cool as well. So before we close the show, let's get into a few social media tactics you can use to maybe drive engagement, sell your book, and then increase your influence.
Yeah, definitely. So our biggest like social media tactic, and it's kind of funny, but it's with like Facebook, the way Facebook works, right? So when we were interacting with people on social media with Facebook, we ask them to vote, right? So like they comment. Now, if you'll notice that if you are in a thread, if you're commenting on something, right? So even if we put this out and say free book, people are commenting on it like thanks, like or whatever. Wait a little bit, like maybe even the next day, then start responding to people every once in a while, and you'll notice that it'll actually go back up into people's news feeds. So it's funny. So we'll post a picture and have people vote on our logos. We just did this with Best Selling Book System. Have people vote on our logos. Then the next day we commented on, like responded to the comments. And then we noticed we got like 10 more likes within 2 minutes. We got other people engaging because not only does that send you a notification, it'll be like, hey, Navid, like Tyler just commented on a post that you liked or you commented. So you get a notification, and then other people in our network, it jumps back up in their news feed because or not Amazon, Facebook sees it as something that people are engaging with. So that's one little trick, and it's like you double, triple your likes, double, triple your engagement. Whereas most people, they're just like on it all the time. So as soon as somebody comments, they respond.
Yeah.
But just like, wait, now you just put it out there. It's already up there. Let it go for a couple hours, maybe a day. Respond tomorrow, jumps back up on the news feed. Respond the next day, jumps back up. And it's like, it's funny. It works really well.
Very smart.
And then just to kind of, I guess a good closer for like the social media stuff is like, just to know that there's people on every platform. And this is something that we've really realized with all of our launches for our books and with Best-Selling Book System. And we haven't even had time to tap into all of these. But like, there's ways to market on Twitter. There's ways to market on LinkedIn. There's ways to market on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, even like Snapchat. Like there's tons of ways to engage with people. And we don't know 100% like the best way to do it with all of them, but we know that it is different for all of them. So I would say like Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, we're very confident in all three of those. And those kind of are the top three, I think, for... and I don't know, actually, Pinterest I've heard is very good. We haven't had time to really dabble with that, but just know that like if you have something of value, there's so many people out there on all these social media sites that like it's so easy to reach your audience. Like you just got to put in the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that's great, and it's important to realize the context of the social media platform. So, it's
Definitely.
different on Pinterest, it's different on Twitter, Facebook, etc. So you don't need to be all over the place. It's important to realize that's probably the most important thing you can do is build your email list, and then you have kind of the social media platforms. Maybe you build relationships with influencers and so on. So you have other people that can actually spread the word for you if you provide value to them as well.
Definitely, and just because this is a little bit funny, I think just to like prove the point that they're all different. So it's like you post something on Facebook, gets like 100 likes, right? But then on Instagram, what I keep finding, and I don't have that big of a following on Instagram, but I'll post a picture of my book and it'll get like 2 likes. Then I post a picture of like a cheeseburger and it gets like 30 likes. And so Instagram, what I'm starting to like think is like maybe if I want to promote Best-Selling Book System or my books on there, I'm just going to take a picture of food and then link Best-Selling Book System on there and be like, join our program if you want to be able to eat nice burgers like this or something. Because
Interesting. I think it's
funny.
as well about kind of Instagram. What I use it for is more like personal brand, like showing my personality, images of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so I think that works better. Like Facebook, Twitter, you can promote, but obviously giving more value than you actually like promote your own stuff. So you need to promote other people. But that's great. You've gone through so much stuff today. So Tyler, what are you up to? Where can people find you?
Definitely. So if you want to reach me on email, just tyler@conferencecrushing.com. That's the best email to reach me at as of now. And then I'd say like, the 2 biggest things that I'm focusing on building right now is Conference Crushing and Best-Selling Book System. So if you've ever had an idea for a book, not sure where to start, check out Best-Selling Book System. A lot of free content on there as well. And then Conference Crushing, check that out if you do go to events or just kind of want to learn how to grow your network a little bit more.
Definitely. You can find everything we talked about today over at navid.me/35. And I will put together a guide there as well so you can download, because we covered a lot of stuff, so it will be easier to go through. So any final words here, Tyler?
No, I get usually my final words are what I just said. I would just say like if you do have this desire, like a message you want to get out into the world, and like you want to publish a book and you're not sure how, like I just just visit Best-Selling Book System and like give it a try and check out our webinars and stuff. It really has helped a lot of people. And then same with Conference Crushing. Like if you want to learn how to get your network to be bigger and like just build these relationships that are long lasting, check it out and see
what's
what
the one action they should take after listening to this? Let's say they want to get out there and do something. What should they do today?
I would say the one action, and you could put me and my stuff out of it, and it would just be like for growing your network, I'd say you have maybe 5 top influencers in your life that have actually done really like helped you, whether it be you read their book or whatever. Send them a thank you video and send it to their email. Send them a thank you video, not like a thank you email, but like a thank you video. Show them how grateful you are and see what results you get from that. So I would say that for growing your network. And then for a book, if you have an idea, I just have to say check out our webinars.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, great stuff, Tyler. Thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing so much valuable information.
Definitely. Thanks for having me on, Navid.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Lifestyle Architects Show.
For more information and to learn more about Navid's journey and how to start your own,
Please visit navid.me.